I want to tell you a story, and it has a happy ending, about a woman that came to our office about 6 months ago. She was married to a U.S. citizen. They had a midterm marriage. They'd been together for quite a while, and he finally decided to sponsor her. And the I-130 immigrant visa petition was approved, so things were looking good. But at some point, she confided in me that he had a bad drinking problem and he was quite abusive, and she was beginning to be fearful, and people were telling her to get out for her own safety, and she didn't want to stay with him any longer, but she wanted to talk to me to make sure if she had any immigration options if she left him. Would the I-130 petition dissolve? Did she have any other options? So we talked and talked, and happily she did have another strong option. There's a wonderful program, we call it VAWA, V-A-W-A, and the acronym stands for Violence Against Women Act, and men can also apply under VAWA. I think initially it was contemplated that it would be primarily women, but many men have benefited from VAWA as well. Some of the requirements for the VAWA program are that someone is married to a U.S. citizen, has to be a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, can't be a person with no documents, and someone has suffered abuse, physical or emotional abuse. They have to have been cohabitating. They can be divorced if it's because of domestic violence. Divorce is fine within the last 2 years. They have to prove that they were cohabitating, and they have to prove that it was a bona fide marriage. In other words, they would have to gather documentation showing that they commingled their finances, or they got bills together, or they had insurance together, or they filed their taxes together. Most couples can obtain those kind of documents. So in a situation like this, the woman no longer had to be dependent on her abusive U.S. citizen spouse, and she could file the VAWA case on her own. It's a different petition. It's called the I-360 petition. It's a self-sponsorship, and usually within 6 months it's approved, and people have to gather as much documentation as possible to prove the bona fides of the marriage, to prove the abuse, to prove that their spouse was a citizen, to prove that they were married, and fill out the forms with the photos and the filing fees, etc., etc. Occasionally it's possible to get a waiver of the filing fees as well. But this is a terrific way for someone who's in an awful situation to be able to get a work permit and eventually a green card. And we have helped many individuals who were in a very awful, crazy, abusive situation to break free and not feel compelled to stay in a bad situation, and ultimately get the desired outcome, which is a green card, and if they choose, they can go on for citizenship. We also had a scenario where a mother had a U.S. citizen son who was schizophrenic and very violent, and unfortunately she had to call the police on her son. She and her husband were afraid, and although the son didn't go to jail, but they had to restrain him and they removed him. And when I was talking with this woman about how it's been with her son, and she never could be alone with her son. You know, there always had to be another male there, even though she loved him very much, but because of the schizophrenia, he was violent and it was unpredictable. Because of the abuse and her fear caused by her son, she was also able to apply for VAWA, because it's not just abuse or fear of abuse by U.S. citizen spouse, it could also be U.S. citizen adult child. So this is just another example of how great the VAWA program is and how it really meets people at their needs. Congress really was right on the mark when they approved the VAWA program. So we have had a lot of experience with different people applying for VAWA and documenting all the different criteria. And we would be very, very happy to talk to you if this scenario seems like it applies to yourself or any of your friends or family members, please give us a call, and we would be very happy to look at your documents, listen to the facts, and give you our thoughts to see if you would be eligible to apply for VAWA. Thank you very much.